Hello everyone, today is 7th of June, now it's 9:30 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is first part of today's update, in which I'll share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. Second part will be published on my Patreon page, and if you are interested in more news from Russia, in commentary or Russian point of view, on certain topics and also in some non-political content that I publish on my Patreon on a regular basis. Please consider to subscribe to my Patreon. That will be great support for my work and this channel. Link is under this video in description box to my Patreon page and in the description box also. That's been said, let's talk about news now, and I will skip for this moment map and short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield, and we'll go back to it in the beginning of the second part on Patreon. And here first news is this report from RIA Novosti that according to Russian Defense Ministry, during the previous night, Russian armed forces neutralized 19 Ukrainian drones over the Crimea, Azov Sea, and also several regions, other regions of the Russian Federation, including Krasnodar region, Belgorod region, and Rostov region. And dear friends, some members of our community several times asked me to read at least some of the headlines in Russian, because they are interested how it sounds in Russian. Many members of our community are learning Russian and it might be a little helpful. So this particular headline is «Над Крымом и Азовским морем за ночь сбили 19 беспилотников». That's how you say this headline. Over the Crimea, during the night time, 19 over the Crimea and Azov Sea. Overnight, 19 drones were intercepted. Well, this headline is in English and we can all see it. RT is report and read it. Russia ready to arm US enemies. This was stated by Medvedev, former Russian president and current deputy chairman of the Security Council. Let's go through this news. Moscow is prepared to arm the enemies of the US in response to Washington and its allies sending weapons to Ukraine. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev said on Thursday. President Vladimir Putin floated the possibility of such an asymmetric response at the Wednesday's meeting with the foreign news agencies, but pointed out the suggestion was only under consideration. This is a rather significant change of our foreign policy, Medvedev said in his post on in his English language page on X, formerly Twitter. Until now, he said, the US and their the ruling dogs, US and their allies, felt entitled to send all sorts of weapons to Ukraine to destroy Russia by any means possible, while threatening anyone who would provide Moscow with weapons or other materials for its defense. Now, may the United States and its allies experience firsthand the direct use of Russian weapons by third parties, Medvedev added. These persons or regions have been intentionally left unnamed, but it can be all those who consider the US and its allies as their enemies, regardless of their political outlook and international recognition. Basically, Medvedev is saying that her enemy of my enemy is my friend. This tactic was used against Russia by US many times, US and its allies many times, and well, possibly we are at the point now when that I was predicting for a while, by the way, when Moscow probably sees no other way out but to also retaliate, also escalate and retaliate on hostile because of the hostile actions of the US and its allies, UK, France, Germany, and so on. And well, I'm gonna be honest, by the way, I don't really like this possible next level of escalation. I don't want it to happen, but unfortunately only so much Moscow can tolerate, and many members of our community probably will agree with me that Russian leadership was trying its best and still continues to try its best to avoid next level of escalation with US, UK, France, other NATO member states. But yet again, only so much can Moscow tolerate, isn't it? And we are dangerously close to that point, or maybe we already are at that point when we will see Russian retaliations. In this particular case, indirect retaliations, and there are so many areas in this world where certain groups or even countries will be happy to receive a long range, short range, whatever means they will be able to acquire to conduct strikes against their enemies. And there are many of those countries and groups see as their enemies US, UK, France, and yes, there are so many regions where Russian weapons may pop up in fairly short time. Maybe Russian weapons already are delivered to those areas, at least to some of those areas. And if you wonder where we may expect escalations with the Russian weapon systems, well, it clearly can be, I mean, geography can be vast, by the way. Entire world, one may say. Let's begin from UK. I know there are many people and groups in Northern Ireland, in United Kingdom, that are not happy that this part of Ireland is still occupied by England, basically, Northern Ireland, and I believe those groups will be happy to have means to force British influence and British troops out of Northern Ireland and to united with Ireland. One of those groups are New IRA. As I know, I'm not expert in Northern Ireland's internal politics, but there is a New IRA. There are even more radical groups there, and somehow they may one day acquire some weapon systems that might be game changer for a region. I don't want this to happen, by the way. Northern Ireland, since the Big Friday, Northern Ireland experienced relative peace, and even though our region is in a very difficult economical situation, Belfast still divided, capital of Northern Ireland. I mean, at least there is peace there, and I don't want this to change. So I hope it will stay that way, by the way, personally. But once again, I mean, Moscow has to retaliate, isn't it? Only so much can be tolerated when it comes to hostile actions of the United Kingdom towards Russia. So, I mean, that's a beginning. Even inside the UK, things may escalate big time. And it's not just Northern Ireland, by the way. I believe there may be some disturbances in Bradford city in the UK, in Birmingham city of UK, even in London, one may say it, and yes, I mean, it's if it's a proxy war, then it's a proxy war. So, and then UK citizens will understand why I mentioned these cities, Bradford, for example, and Birmingham. Although there are many other areas also where things may get out of control. And UK's interests, by the way, worldwide can be in danger, of course, in Northern and Southern America, for example. I mean, we don't have to go too far. Today it might sound as a fantastic stuff, but tomorrow current leadership of Argentina or future leadership of Argentina may decide to return control over the Malvinas Islands. There was a war between UK and Argentina over these Malvinas Islands, isn't it? And Argentina, I guess, will be happy to require long-range anti-ship missiles, long-range air defense systems, long-range weapons, to make sure that if Argentinian forces will establish control over the Malvinas Islands, they will be able to keep British fleet on a distance, British fleet and air force on a distance. Theoretically, that's a possibility, by the way, although UK assets are in much more danger and, in short period of time in some other areas. Middle East, by the way, take a look at the Middle East, take a look at the African continent. And same can be said about France, about US. I'm quite sure Iraqi Shiite militia will be happy to acquire long-range weapon systems, long-range missiles to target US military bases in the Middle East, in Bahrain, for example. And if I remember correctly, US fleet's headquarters, it's Fifth Fleet of US, isn't it? That has a headquarters in Bahrain. It's significant military asset for the Pentagon, and well, maybe Shiite militia at one point will be in a position to obliterate that military base. It would not be Russians that will strike directly to that base. It will be third parties, but that's exactly what US tries to do right now, isn't it? They are saying, you know what, it's Ukrainians. I mean, we have nothing to do with these strikes on Russian soil, and it's not us killing Russian citizens. It's Ukraine does that. Okay, Moscow will say the same then. Do we really want things to escalate this far? I don't. I clearly don't. But yet again, how much Moscow can tolerate? I mean, many people, by the way, here in Russia already are kind of shocked that Moscow was acting with this restraint for this long, and the government is under increased pressure from the public here. One should understand that, I mean, many people here see Russia as a superpower, nuclear superpower, and many people see as humiliating that NATO member states are acting this hostile and Moscow is not retaliating. People are not happy about it. So pressure is increasing on Russian government to act, and that's exactly what's going to happen, I guess. And it's not just Middle East and Africa or South America or North America, by the way. I'm quite sure in Mexico there are some groups that want to liberate parts of US nowadays that were unlawfully occupied by US, taken from the Mexico. And those groups in Mexico will be happy, I guess, to require long-range weapon systems to carry out strikes on US military bases against US occupying forces, let's say, in borderline regions. Anything is possible. I mean, gloves are off. If things go this bad, man, gloves are off, and nothing can be excluded. This is unfortunate, man. This is really unfortunate that things going this bad. But once again, that's what U.S. ruling class or Western ruling class asked for, and okay, now they will have to deal with their new issues that they will have. And also Oceania, by the way, global south, there are so many areas where US, UK, French interests can be targeted. For example, New Caledonia. Why New Caledonia is occupied by France still? I'm 100% sure New Caledonia should be independent state, and freedom fighters there should have all means necessary to fight off occupation force of the France. And maybe Moscow thinks very same way, and that one day these freedom fighters in New Caledonia will have not just weapons that they took from police during the recent riots, but maybe they will have guided anti-tank missiles, manpods, plenty of drones, you know, and maybe even long-range weapon systems to sink French warships that will try to approach island, archipelago. Who knows, man? Who knows? Anything is possible. So yes, I mean, situation is escalating, by the way, clearly, and press spokesman of the Russian president Dmitry Peskov was asked in which regions Russian weapon systems may pop up, and because after Putin's statement, of course, everyone start to think about where we might see strikes on assets of the UK, US, France, and the other other countries from anti-Russian coalition. And Peskov said that Russia is not obligated to explain, to give more information that it's already give. Of course, I mean, Russia not gonna give a warning to US that, you know what, your base in Bahrain is about to be obliterated. I don't think Moscow will do it. It's not the point. US is not ally of Russia. US is an enemy of Russia, unfortunately, once again, but it is what it is. And you know what, when I was thinking on this point, on this topic, I mean, members of our community from US may agree with me or disagree, but Colonel McGregor will most certainly agree, I guess, that if some severe crisis will erupt in US, which may be generated, including by Russian indirect strikes on the US assets worldwide, then maybe the society in the US will finally wake up and realize that they have a leadership that only endangers them and don't really cares about their national interests. And if society will wake up as a result of this big crisis, then maybe US citizens will be able to regain control over their country. Maybe, because I'm quite sure without some severe crisis, US citizens majority of the US citizens would not wake up, by the way. They would not think that something is wrong. They would not pay much attention. But if crisis will erupt, then many people will start thinking, and maybe in that case they will manage to regain control over their country that they used to have but lost to globalists and neocons and whoever runs the things. And of course they don't really care about citizens of US or citizens of any other country that they control, by the way. Take a look at the EU. So yes, Kremlin of course didn't specify in which regions Russian weapons may end up, but it is significant stuff. It is significant stuff, that's for sure. And meanwhile, so-called president of US, who don't really makes any decisions, he barely understands where he is. Yesterday he was trying to sit down on some invisible chair in France. I mean, it's hard to even watch, by the way, this kind of stuff. It's a total abuse of elderly, what US ruling class is doing with Biden. This is I mean, disgraceful individual, by the way. Don't be mistaken. Biden is a disgraceful individual, warmonger and mass murderer. That's for sure. Incredibly corrupt mass murderer. But still, he is elderly, and his presence as a president of US is I mean, it does makes US look really like weak, man. And maybe US is that weak, that ruling class in US can bring this Biden into White House, put him in a position of the president, is if he does anything really, and tell you to US citizens that, you know what, you will say nothing, you will take whatever we will give you, and if we say this individual Biden, who barely understands anything at this point, is your president, then that's what you're gonna accept. This is your president, and all the decisions are made by him, not by us from shadows. That's what is happening, by the way. And US, I will say, yes, this week, really this week, man, because US society is under such a propaganda, under such influence of propaganda, that they clearly cannot see reality no more. Majority, of course. Minority, informed minority, unfortunately unable to influence situation currently. But majorities, I mean, must be under heavy influence of propaganda, because modern US, by the way, resembles to me to the Soviet Union of late 80s, by the way, when Brezhnev was in power. And Brezhnev was, I mean, Biden clearly resembles with Brezhnev, by the way, and there was even jokes around USSR, by the way, at the time, that, I mean, Brezhnev was kept alive just because of the drugs. He lost, I mean, take a look at the old videos, by the way. Brezhnev was lost. He was not there. But, I mean, he was abused by system and rulers of the Soviet Union exactly the way that Biden is abused right now. And by the way, when it comes to these two individuals, Brezhnev, I guess, even though he was not angel, obviously, but, I mean, you cannot even compare, man. Brezhnev at least has done something good, man, for people. And early years of his rule, by the way, was quite successful, one may say. And when it comes to Biden, and entire his career, by the way, is a total disgrace. Total disgrace. So, and this person, by the way, Biden is saying that US did not authorize Kiev regime to strike Moscow or you know, deep inside Russian territory, any further than the border lines, border regions. But yet again, how many times we hear since the beginning of special military operation that US will not do this and not do that, and then always these red lines that they created themselves being crossed. How many times? There was statements that US, of course, not gonna deliver some lethal weapons to Kiev regime. Remember, first couple of weeks, statements from Washington. That was their approach. They're not gonna provide some lethal weapons, just humanitarian aid. Then but they start delivering lethal weapons. But then agenda was that US and its allies from anti-Russian coalition will deliver only defensive weapon systems, not offensive weapon systems. They created this red line for themselves, and then they crossed this red line once again, and they started delivering offensive weapon systems. And nowadays, they were talking about red lines that they created themselves once again when it comes to strikes deep inside Russian territory, and then they now are authorizing those strikes. Although they are talking about like strikes on short range in a borderline areas of the Russia, but give it a week or 2 months, by the way, and they will cross this red line also, red line that they themselves created. I have no doubts about it. And therefore, this statement from Biden, or whoever write his speech, I mean, people that are really pulling the strings in US, this statement means nothing. That US is not authorizing the regime to strike on Moscow or deep inside Russian territory. It's just some fake statement that means nothing. TASS news agencies report that, well, Jens Stoltenberg once again reiterated himself that NATO has no plans to deploy US NATO troops to Ukraine. Also a false statement, by the way. I'm 100% sure that NATO troops already are in Ukraine. And I'm quite sure it's only a matter of time, and there are thousands and thousands of NATO troops will be deployed into Ukraine, at least into the western Ukraine. So therefore, once again, anything Stoltenberg or that kind of people will say is not even worth paying too much attention to. It is what it is. RIA Novosti's report. And this is another example when, for example, NATO is creating for itself this red line that, I mean, we will never deploy troops to Ukraine, and they will cross this red line. That's what's going to happen, of course. But yet again, Russia is waking up, by the way. Russia is waking up, and strong statements being made here. And I guess it's only a matter of time when we will start seeing effects of the Russia's awakening. Because as I said, man, only so much Moscow can tolerate, and I guess limit has expired. And from now on, any day, anytime, anywhere in this world, we may see Russian direct or indirect retaliation. And I don't think anybody can blame Russia, by the way. I mean, world will stand with Russia. Vast majority of this world will stand with Russia, and will even praise Russian leadership for immense constraint. I mean, and attempts, all the attempts that Russia made to avoid next level of escalation. RIA Novosti's report that President of France, Macron, made a statement yesterday during the on the background of the celebration of 80th anniversary of the D-Day or Normandy landing, that France will start training Ukrainian pilots and will transfer to Kyiv regime Mirage 2000 fighter jets. Okay, is this escalation, by the way? Of course it is. And when Russia will retaliate and somewhere French aircraft carrier will sink, for example, I don't know, maybe not aircraft carrier, maybe something else, or maybe not even Navy vessel, but some other asset will be destroyed, then everyone should remember actions of the France against Russia. And I remind you, dear friends, that France is actively participating in killing of Russian citizens, and France is delivering long-range weapon systems almost since the beginning of this conflict. It's long-range artillery systems and, of course, missiles and the bombs. And Russia has every right to retaliate, 100%. So yes, this statement, by the way, we can read only one way, that at some point France will start using Mirage fighter jets against Russia, because, I mean, not even extremely... I don't think anybody will believe that Ukrainian pilots will learn how to operate with Mirage fighter jets in next 3 to 6 months. Like no one believed that Ukrainian or any other pilots, by the way, from anywhere, will be able to learn how to operate with F-16s, for example, in 3 to 6 months. It's total nonsense, by the way. And if French Mirage planes will appear in the skies over Ukraine, that will be French pilots, and most likely very first flight of the French pilots over the Ukraine will be the very last. That's how it's gonna be. That's news. And by the way, many people were expecting, me also, that Macron will announce during this celebration of the D-Day about deliveries of the French troops, deployment of the French troops into Ukraine, but it did not happen. It did not happen. I wonder why. Maybe those first groups of French troops being neutralized is that's the reason. Because we all know that there was reports in the media that France already sent 2 groups of its military personnel into Ukraine, and the expectation was that on 6th of June, Macron will make official statement about deployment of French troops. But we know that there was a strikes, Russian missile strikes, all over the Kiev-controlled territory in recent days and weeks, in Odessa region, in western Ukraine, including in training grounds, in areas of the training grounds. And there were reports that hundreds of Western military personnel being killed without photo or video confirmation. Of course, difficult to say, but I would not be surprised at all if sometime in the future we will learn that Macron had the plan to announce deployment of the French troops into Ukraine, but he did not make this announcement because those troops already been killed. So French citizens should conduct some inquiry on this matter, because it's their citizens that are dying in Ukraine under criminal orders, because of the criminal orders of the Macron. Because France is not at war with Russia, officially at least. TASS news agencies report, by the way, that in Moscow, French citizen was arrested on the charges of the espionage. Well, no surprises there. This is the video, by the way, of arrest of this French citizen. And of course, France will deny, probably already did deny, that this person has nothing to do with France, and maybe French leadership will say that this person is not even a citizen of France or something. But who gives a damn, by the way, about any statements of the Western ruling class? I mean, we can, we have to pay attention just to know narratives of the Western ruling class, but to believe them, that's impossible. That's just impossible, man. We cannot trust those people, man. Artists report here that France denies training troops in Ukraine. France has never trained the troops on the territory of Ukraine itself, but has not excluded the possibility of sending military instructors to their country. Prime Minister of France, Gabriel Attal, stated on Thursday. So, okay, deny. When body bags from Ukraine will return to France, let's see what this individual Gabriel Attal gonna say to family members of those French militaries that being killed in Ukraine. They might pay money to keep them quiet, maybe, but well, some families of and at this point, by the way, French army lost hundreds of its military personnel in Ukraine. If recent reports about neutralization of a huge number of foreign troops is correct, then most likely France already lost not just dozens of its troops, but hundreds of its troops in Ukraine. And at some point, this topic will become an issue of or topic of discussion in the French public, and some families of those killed in Ukraine will start demanding answers, and maybe at that time, maybe society worldwide will learn some more on the topic, how many French troops being sent, how many of them were killed already. Anyways, France is of course denying presence of its troops into Ukraine for now, but artists report here that West will remove Zelensky from his office, according to Kremlin. During the meeting with journalists from worldwide, recent meeting of the Russian president that took place in St. Petersburg, it was day before yesterday in a Lahta center. Of course, and before also, by the way, Putin spoke about Zelensky, and he said that most likely masters of the Zelensky, Washington will use him for, use him for time being, so that Zelensky will introduce to Ukraine some extremely unpopular bills or decrees, and then he will be removed, so that new leader of this terrorist and Nazi regime in Kiev will have a kind of opportunity to start from the clean sheet, and he can blame for everything Zelensky. And after Zelensky will make these immensely unpopular decisions, including to further decrease age of the people that can be mobilized from current 25 to 23 or maybe even 18. That's when Zelensky most likely will be removed, and the press spokesman of the Russian president also was asked about this topic, and let's go through this news. The US and its allies will tolerate Ukrainian leader Vladimir Zelensky until he has served his purpose, at which point he will be replaced, Kremlin's press secretary Dmitry Peskov said on Thursday. President Vladimir Putin's spokesman gave an interview to a TV Zvezda on the sidelines of the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, where he addressed recent remarks by the President of Russian Federation about the likely fate of the Zelensky. Obviously, he will be removed, Peskov said. Obviously, reducing their mobilization age will cause an increasing wave of their negativity in Ukrainian society. Peskov comments came as a clarification of the statements made by Putin on Wednesday in a meeting with the heads of the international news agencies that lasted more than 3 hours. At one point, Russian president noted that the US has been pressuring Ukraine to mobilize increasingly younger men. According to Putin, Washington has already compelled Kyiv to lower the draft age from 27 to 25, with a few of moving it down to 23 and then to 20 or straight to 18. The law has to be passed and certain steps have to be taken, Putin explained. It is now June 2024, and in order to do this, I feel it will take a year. He will be tolerated until the spring, until the beginning of the next year at the very least. When it is done, they will say goodbye. So that's Putin's understanding of the situation, that Zelensky may be, Washington may tolerate Zelensky and London until spring or beginning of the next year, and once Zelensky during this time will, initiate all their unpopular, will conduct all the unpopular steps, he will be removed. Most likely that's exactly what's gonna happen. I was thinking that Zelensky will be removed during this summer, but who knows, man? Who knows? Russian president has more information, so if he says most likely spring or beginning of the next year, probably exactly that's the way that things go down. And let me check. Wow, it's already 39 minutes, by the way. Then okay, I will end this first part of the update on this news, and as you can see, dear friends, plenty of news. not just about Ukraine, but also about Middle East, also about deployment of Russian Navy assets to Caribbean. Some news about economy and all this stuff, by the way, in a second part on my Patreon. Wow, I missed the mark, man. I wanted to make first parts like 30-35 minutes max. But okay, I will improve, by the way. Tomorrow I will be more precise. Anyways, hopefully you will find this first part of the update interesting, informative, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything, any topic, even weather if you like to, because this is the only way we can influence algorithm. More likes and comments. And a few days ago we managed to influence algorithm when video was as a result of your attention and support. Video got end up in recommendations and it received over 35,000 views. So it is possible, I guess. It is possible to influence YouTube's algorithm. And for very same reason, if you can, please share information about my channel with your friends on in real life or on the platforms that you are active on. Although, by the way, on Facebook you can write about my channel, but you cannot share link because Facebook is blocking my channel. I don't know about other platforms. Well, if you find this channel interesting, by the way, useful, if you think this channel deserves to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, Boosty, which is alternative for me to buy me coffee, since I was blocked on buy me coffee. And also you can subscribe, of course, to my Patreon page and choose your level of support from $5 to 10, 20, 50, 100. It's a monthly subscription and you are making decisions there. And on my part, I'm trying to make my Patreon page as interesting as I can. All the links, by the way, are under this video in description box and in the pinned comment. This is it for now. It's a Friday, so I wish you a nice, easy day and, of course, wonderful upcoming weekend. Have a great day and take care. And if you are a member of our community, see you on a Patreon shortly.